The first thing, of course, is we could eliminate the risk entirely. We're going to illustrate this with a particularly risky activity, driving. Does anyone here not drive? Okay, so those of you who have raised your hand are not going to crash a car. You've removed the risk of having a motor vehicle accident yourself. The rest of us, we drive, and therefore we need some more strategies. Next strategy is to reduce the likelihood of a motor vehicle incident. Give me some examples of particular tactics that could go into your plan for reducing the likelihood of an accident. Speed, or in fact reduce your speed rather than speeding, or taking speed, which would be very, very bad. Yep, speed is one thing. What else? Choose the time of day, yes, when you're fresh and when traffic conditions are appropriate. The big one that most people don't get, although you all know it, is phones. There is ever increasing evidence that using a mobile phone with or without a hands-free kit makes you more likely to crash. If that's the risk of having an accident without a hands-free kit, that's the risk of having it if you introduce a hands-free kit. The danger is not playing with your phone. The danger is focusing on another cognitively demanding activity when you should be concentrating on the lights. So absolutely turn off your mobile phone when you get in your car. Now, next strategy is to reduce the impact. And of course, if you've got a bigger, more powerful, more robust vehicle, then you will reduce the impact, at least to the people inside the car. What else will reduce the impact of a motor vehicle accident? Seatbelt will reduce the impact. What else?
Reducing speed.
Reducing speed. Reducing speed is one of two strategies which actually work for both of these and therefore are the most important strategies. A lot of the strategies of reducing impact, like wearing a seatbelt, actually tend to increase the likelihood to a degree because we feel safe, so we take more chances. The other one that does both, by the way, is advanced driving skills tests. Anyone ever had advanced driving training? It means you're more likely to spot accidents before they happen and take evasive action, and therefore reduce the likelihood of being involved. And if you are involved, you have the skills to reduce the impact. So getting good training and keeping your speed to appropriate for the road conditions and legal are the two important ones. Next. Have a contingency plan. Those of you who drive, how many of you know who you would call if you had an accident? How many of you carry things like triangles, fire extinguishers, high-vis gear in the back of your car? None of those will actually make it less likely you'll have a crash. None of those will make the crash any less bad, but all of them will help you deal with the consequences. That's a contingency plan. Next, transfer the risk. What do drivers do to transfer the risk of a motor vehicle accident? Getting someone else to drive transfers the risk. Sending someone else on an errand when you're not in the car, actually, you know, great, they have an accident, I'm fine. But that's not the key tactic I'm thinking of. Insurance is a way of transferring the risk. It doesn't transfer the whole risk. Sadly, we can't buy insurance which says that, you know, I have an accident and someone in a call centre gets hurt instead of me. But you'd pay for that, wouldn't you? But if you have an accident, someone in an insurance company writes a cheque. The insurance company pays for your accident, for your damage. You transferred the risk. Now, where I used to live, there was a young lad who lived up the road who absolutely adored driving. So this was clearly not his strategy. He wasn't going to stop driving. He drove, I have to say, like an absolute maniac, so that clearly wasn't his strategy. And his car was poorly maintained. He never wore a seatbelt. It was made largely of rust and exhaust pipes, and the only bit that seemed to work particularly well was the stereo. And did I mention he drives like a maniac? That's clearly not his strategy either. He had an accident, and it turns out that his only contingency plan was to run away from what instantly became the scene of the crime. So that's not really his strategy. And at the time he had his accident, he was 16 years old, therefore uninsured, therefore that wasn't his strategy. He used strategy number 6. Strategy number 6 is to accept the risk. But there are two ways of implementing strategy number 6, which I'm going to crudely describe as the professional project manager approach and the 16-year-old idiot approach. The 16-year-old idiot approach is either to say, I'm not going to have a crash, it's inconceivable, I'm a brilliant driver. Who knows those 16-year-olds, yeah? Or, so what if I have a crash? I'm 16 years old, I'm invincible, nothing can go wrong to me, with me. Neither of those is a responsible position. But for you, it is perfectly reasonable to have acceptance of risk as part of your strategy. Because if you have consciously evaluated the likelihood and the impact of risk using the best available evidence and judgment, and you have concluded that none of these strategies offers you a suitable, cost-effective solution, and you believe that the level of threat is sufficiently low, it's perfectly reasonable to decide to accept the risk. And we do it every day in our private lives and in our professional lives.